It's been a beautiful afternoon, and particularly beautiful if you're wearing the crimson and cream of Indiana, the greatest win in Indiana football history. And as I said on the stage with Curt Cignetti handing them the trophy, the Leishman Trophy for winning the Rose Bowl, they just keep elevating the standard. Glad to have you with us, Ram Truck, pregame show, Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, and Desmond Howard. So now the next step for the number one and undefeated team in the country is to somehow try to top what looked to be a near perfect performance. They got penalized one time, they didn't turn it over. Yeah. Mendoza, 3 more touchdown passes and incompletions in this game.
14 for 16, only 2 incompletions, 3 touchdown passes. I was told he was supposed to be rusty. These guys had a bye. They were razor sharp, very consistent, extremely efficient. They just looked like a well-oiled machine. Nothing seemed hard out there, even when he took a sack. He was sacked 3 times. You never got the impression that, okay, this is going to kill this drive, because they would just come back with another big play. Just very impressed with this team. They've been the model of consistency all season long. They are who they are. They have a clear and cut identity. And I tell you what, Fernando Mendoza, I can't say enough good things about him. I mean, he just takes what defense gives him, but if you give him some deep passes, he'll take those too, and they run the ball extremely well. Just a well-oiled machine on offense.
Yeah, well, the good news for Alabama is at least it didn't rain, Reese. At least we got a break from that rain.
It rained.
But they did brought a storm and they couldn't deal with it. Mendoza was impressive, but we expect him to be impressive. They ran the ball for 215 yards, though.
Wow.
And that's the part I'm impressed by with this football team. When you scout a team and you know they have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, that plays the way Mendoza does, you try to figure out ways to take him away.
Exactly.
But when they can run the ball with 215 yards against a defense like Alabama, now you have problems, because now what do you want to take away? The impressive part about what they did is they dominated this from start to finish. You mentioned, we talked about all the teams that had a bye. All were rusty. All got off to a slow start. From the minute this one kicked off, Alabama was ready and they dominated physically.
Indiana.
Definitely not Alabama.
Yeah, except for, it was really that first offensive series that I think Holly Rowe or Chris Budden in the postgame mentioned it a little bit. Alabama got a couple of sacks, but from that point forward, it's veteran Indiana offensive front. There were so many guys who played a lot of ball. The offensive MVP was Pat Coogan, who played for Notre Dame last year, came in with an Irish offensive lineman, was injured and started the majority of the season, even to the national championship game. And he's leading this group of veteran guys. And I think a lot of people like to follow that mantra, get old, stay old.
Yeah.
But to make it work and to build the execution monster that they have is really
they look like they've been here before.
Man.
Really. We keep talking about every step for Indiana is a new step.
Yeah.
They don't look like a team taking a new step. There's been no moment in this season that's been too big for Indiana, and I expect that to continue. The next one's going to be great against Oregon.
Yeah, they never seem like the stage is too big or they're intimidated by anything. Whether it was Austin Stadium out there in Eugene or the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. The most impressive thing is they don't win games, they beat teams. Like, they take away your will to compete. I'm out there watching Alabama on that gridiron, and at some point, it just looked like they didn't really want to compete anymore with the Indiana Hoosiers. And they've done this to just about every team they played against. Of course, they had that bump in the road against Penn State. You're going to get that. You have a 12, 13 game season, whatever. You're going to get that every now and then. But outside of that, when it was a big game, they always rose to the occasion and gave you the impression, yes, we belong to be here. We belong here to be with any of the top teams in the nation.
Yeah, you hear the Indiana bands, the marching 100. They didn't get to perform on the field at halftime. They do now.
They're getting it in now.
And I got these earpieces in, but I believe they're playing Shout, which is Oregon's song, right?
Oh, wow, it is.
Maybe it's just a bit of a coincidence. I probably saw it flash up on the screen. And, look, one of the things I admire among many about Curt Cignetti when he would be asked about the Alabama mystique or the Ohio State mystique, he'd go, my guys just know what they saw on film. But if you're going to be a little bit of a historian, this was the first bowl win for Indiana since the Copper Bowl.
Wow.
The Copper Bowl in 1991.
Wow.
So Indiana playing Oregon for a spot in the national championship game. That will be in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in Atlanta on January 9th. And the other national semifinal will be in the Purple Fiesta Bowl. Miami, with an impressive victory against Ohio State, has already advanced, and they await the winner of the final game of our triple header, which we are certainly hoping will be a little bit more competitive than the first two.
Yes.
Ole Miss and Georgia. And I tell you what, if you can judge by the first game, it will be more competitive. There is Pete Golding. He is coming in as the head coach of the Rebels, just his second game as the head coach after taking over for Lane Kiffin after Lane Kiffin decided to go to LSU. It's over a half hour away. They've outscored their opponents by more than 3 touchdowns per game, outgained them by nearly 200 yards per game. And Georgia has changed too, particularly on defense. It's so much more difficult to convert against on third down than they have been in the early part of the season. This game, I expect this one to be tight, but you do wonder about Ole Miss, Desmond. If things start to get a little sideways with all of the distractions, can they hold it together when adversity strikes? If it does.
And that's a $1 million question, right? Because Lane Kiffin is no longer on the sideline. He's not the head coach. Obviously, it's Pete Golding. And we want to see if things go sideways, how are they going to react? How are they going to respond? I do think because obviously he was already on staff, there's a familiarity right there. They understand what he wants and what he expects of them. I think that everything should be in a situation where it's easier to calm down as if it was a new coach or a new staff. So because they have like 6 holdover coaches who will be in this game coaching too, I think they'll be fine with whatever happens in this game. But don't forget, Ole Miss jumped out on Georgia. The first time they played, they scored 5 touchdowns in their 5 first possessions. I mean, so they jumped out on top early. This was how Georgia was playing early in the season. They would get behind, but then they had like this cardiac kids thing going on where they would be resilient, come back, and either win the game in the fourth quarter or win the game in overtime. That's because their defense was really struggling earlier in the season. Now their defense looks like a Georgia Bulldogs defense. The first 9 games, they had 8 sacks. No, they had 11 sacks. And then the last 4 games, they've had 9 sacks. They've upped their sack total. They're doing a great job. This Ole Miss offense, though, I want to show you something, Joey, because I think this offense, what we need to see is, are they going to be what they want to be, or are they just going to stand us, get the ball out, little horizontal throws, bubble screens, pitches, slams, and then let the playmakers do what they do.
When you showed Pete Golding walk in, I was thinking, man, he looks calm. Had a sweatshirt on, looks like he's been here before. You'd imagine in this spot, this being your second game as a head coach, and you're going against Georgia in this playoff. This must be a difficult situation, but he looked great coming in. He looked calm. If you're Trinidad Tim, if you're a young quarterback, you need a calming factor in all of this. It has been a whirlwind of storm with Lane Kiffin leaving. So if you got a young quarterback and a team that's playing in the game against a team that they've already been beat by, you need someone to calm down your troops. Let's go. Let's focus on playing football. And Pete Golding looks like he's the part right now. Looks like he's ready.
You know, Georgia's defense has held its last 4 opponents to 10 points or fewer. Ole Miss is second in the country, nearly 500 yards of offense per game. But they had a season low, if you want to call it that, 351 yards against the Dogs. Still scored on 5 consecutive possessions. It doesn't matter.
He's been a different quarterback, and they've been a different team overall. We talked about their defense and what they've meant to this team. But when you have a defense playing the way they are, it allows your offense to relax and make plays. Because you know you can lean on that defense. And Gunnar Stockton is just a playmaker. He finds ways to make a change. He can run the ball with speed, and he can make those plays. He's the leader of this team. He reminds me much of what Mendoza brings to Indiana. Gunnar Stockton is the leader of this team. He makes everybody on that team feel comfortable that he can get the job done.
You know, I thought that Gunnar Stockton really came alive with the offense. When they were in Knoxville, Tennessee, we were at that game. It was like a shootout. Like, they kept scoring back and forth. But then Georgia in the second half, they kind of took over. Gunnar Stockton, he threw some great passes to send the game in overtime. And then Georgia eventually won that game in extra innings. And I thought this was the moment for Gunnar Stockton because I knew he was a dual threat quarterback, really good with his feet. Wasn't sure about his accuracy, but when they needed him to be special, he has been special. I think he's going to be special again tonight, too.
And if it's close late, Desmond, 6 games against ranked opponents this year for Gunnar Stockton. In the fourth quarters of those games, 6 touchdowns, 3 incompletions.
Wow.
Averaging 10 yards per attempt. He's come through and they needed him most. He's such a star now. On off days, he goes fishing and hunting with Brian. And that's the perks of being the Georgia quarterback, and he is the man for the Dogs right now. You know, it was just over a year ago we had the terrorist attack in the French Quarter, which killed more than a dozen people. The memories are on our hearts as we go to New Orleans and the national anthem. This is the 5th game in the 12-year history of the college football playoff, both 4-game versions and the 12 or 14 versions and 12-team versions. 5th time that we've had a rematch. The only time that the regular season winner has swept was when Ole Miss beat Tulane earlier this year. I don't know if that favors Ole Miss this time around. All SEC Sugar Bowl matchup. Ole Miss has been involved in all of them, this being the 4th one. And this Georgia team, though, right now, much like Indiana, seems as if it might be playing its best football, peaking at the right time.
You know what I said when the playoffs started? If there was a team in the country that I'd be afraid to play right now, it was Georgia.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still feel that way after
I mean, these fellas here now.
after the SEC championship game. It was Georgia because of the way their defense played. Their defense dominated that game. Their front four got after the quarterback. And if your defense plays that way, it's tough to get beat.
I tell you what, you know, they say it's the hardest thing to do is to beat the same team twice in the same season, but defense wins championships, and RD said it. Georgia's peaking at the right time. Defensively, now they're starting to look like a Georgia defense, a championship caliber Georgia defense, and they have stability. We still don't really know what we're going to get from Ole Miss, so I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs tonight.
All right, a little early tease on his pick right there.
I mean, I thought we were coming back to the pick.
We are. No, I think one thing that you have to watch tonight for Ole Miss is Ole Miss has, if you look at those Pro Football Focus grades, they've got some guys in the secondary that have some rough coverage grades there. Stockton's been throwing the ball downfield a little bit more. Meanwhile, Kirby Smart has just been patient with these young defensive players, and as they've grown and grown and grown, they've evolved into the type of defense we're accustomed to seeing in the red and black. Here is the Bulldog head coach Wire. And there it is. You saw Kirby riding in a little bit earlier. It's good. Desmond's laughing. Desmond had, I don't know how long that piece of tape was with Kirby there, maybe 30, maybe 45 seconds.
Yeah.
He's had some time to change his mind. He goes to change his picks and maybe go with Hottie Toddy.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a game. Georgia's had to replace a lot of talent. A lot of guys drafted into the NFL, 31, I think, over the last couple of drafts. As you look at this Georgia team evolving, Ole Miss coming in here, who wins the game tonight?
Well, Indiana just took the seal off a team doing and have a bye and get a win. Georgia will follow that up. I like Georgia in this game to repeat what they did in the regular season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Georgia's defense is outstanding. Defense wins championships. I'm going with the Bulldogs tonight, too.
So you didn't change your mind. He didn't change his mind. Now he really means it. Now he's doubling down on the Bulldogs for sure. Georgia and Ole Miss coming up. The first 2 quarterfinals have been emphatic performances. First for Oregon, then for Indiana. Will we have a barn burner or another one of those belt to the backside that we've seen in the first 2 quarterfinals? About to go to New Orleans. Coming up right now.